שמש דקה ומרפא בכנפיה.
I'd like to tell you a love story of a man and a woman, of a native and a foreigner, of a resident and a migrant, of an influential man and a defenseless widow. All the tensions we know as human beings or as Bible readers are summarized in this narrative. There's a tension between man and woman, between poor and rich, between young and old, between lord and slave, or also the tension between Israel and the Gentiles. The scroll, the book scroll of Ruth, is part of a classical Hebrew narrative tradition. It is one of two books in the Bible that is named after a Gentile. The other one is the Book of Job. It is one of two books in the Bible that is named after a woman. The other one is the scroll of Esther. And whereas Esther describes a lot of details, even up to clothing and a court of a glorious king, the scroll of Ruth is rather inapparent. It's self-declaring or self-explanatory, self-understanding. It is just what you see here, the landscape of the eastern part of the central Israel mountain ridge, where it goes down into the Jordan Valley towards the Dead Sea. And in the background, if it's clear, we see the mountains of Moab or the eastern Jordanian mountains. And what you hear around us is just normal agricultural life of the Bedouins, sheep, people shouting at each other. I think it's very much as it was in times of Jesus or in the times of David or the time of Ruth. Now the scroll of Ruth doesn't explain a lot. It very much focuses on the human, on the psychology. And you might read the scroll of Ruth, the book of Ruth, from very different perspectives. As a male or female, as a poor man or from the perspective of a rich man, as a native resident or a migrant, as a Jew or a Gentile. And you can focus as main issue on pay attention to very different aspects in the story, to the people of Israel, or you can focus on the Gentile girl. You may focus on the young people, on the old ones, on human beings, or on the Redeemer, on the land. And you might get very different results, very different stories you tell, and reach very different conclusions. And let me tell you, that is legitimate. What I think is important is that we are clear about from which point of view we are coming, and that we'll be honest and give an account to ourselves, but also to our listeners, if we are conversing, to the other partners in the conversation. Some theologians say that this is a novella. It's some kind of freely invented fairy tale for entertainment and edification. A Jewish exegete says it's a folkloric tale. But then he admits also that it has a historical claim. The Book of Ruth itself, how it presents itself, says it's history. And actually, I personally would take that seriously. We have 85 verses, Bible verses in front of us, and 55 of these Bible verses are dialogue. So in most of the cases, we are taken into conversations people have with each other. Now, I personally would suggest, I put that as a proposal to you, that we have something like a prophetic teaching narrative in front of us. A narrative because we're told a story. We're taken into a story, into conversations, into people's lives. And it's been told to us not just for edification, but to teach us something. And I personally think it has a prophetic character, a prophetic claim also. And it's prophecy, not something like Christianly legitimized fortune telling me what will happen tomorrow. I think we often mistake there the word prophecy. Biblical prophecy aims at obedience. It wants to help us to live in a way that brings glory to our Father in heaven. It wants to help us in our daily life to make the right decisions at the right moment. And if you keep all this in mind, if we could agree on this basis, then I'd like to simply welcome to the book scroll of Ruth.